What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Agency Owners Playbook. I'm Gil here from DashClicks, and I'm sitting with Dillon Ross of the Dillon Ross Group, calling out of the New York City area. Is that right?
That is correct.
Awesome. All right. With that being said, I'm just going to get straight into it. So, Dillon, what year did you start your agency?
Yeah, I started my agency when I was in college. I think it was like 2019. And what I had originally started the company as is totally different than what it has transformed into today. And I think a lot of agency owners would probably have the same story in terms of when they started. But yeah, so 2018 officially started it, and got more into agency world in like 2019.
Yeah, and I kind of want to touch on you mentioned a good point about you transitioning to something that you weren't sure that's what it was going to be. And we have a similar story here at DashClicks where we were developing our software for our retail agency, and it became for wholesale white label
Sure.
fulfillment service in that kind of way. So yeah, I mean, you can always like change the trajectory of where you are with your agency and what you intend on doing, and that's definitely a good thing to do if you want to do that. But
Yeah.
digress a little bit. Next question: what are your core service offerings?
Yeah, I think part of, being an agency owner is kind of, constantly adapting and learning kind of as you go, right? I don't think you ever stop learning. Fast forward to today, currently, I'm trying to mainly focus on SEO predominantly, just because as a service offering, I think, with the help of DashClicks and, the support from the community that DashClicks has, I think, I've learned a lot about SEO and think that, it truly holds the most value long term to a business. Every service in the marketing world holds its weight and has a specific use and benefit from it. But in terms of what I'm primarily trying to push, it's SEO. But along the way, we've sold Facebook ads, we've sold Google ads. I've done social media management. I've just about every service you could offer and try to offer, I've offered. But again, that's part of the learning curve and learning experience as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a good route. SEO is definitely something that every business can and should use and try to implement.
Yeah,
And it's also one of the stickiest products that I think you can actually sell, and that has the least amount of churn when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, definitely a good thing to start with and go on from there. Would you
sure.
say your agency is niche down, and if so, what niche?
Yeah. In short, no. I haven't niched down. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I just kind of didn't start that way. And when I was scaling, and starting to work with different clients, you can have a predictable source of leads, such as like running ads for your agency, but oftentimes you'll find that as you service more clients, you naturally obtain more referrals and friends, family, sphere of influence, and all that. And when you're scaling your business, it's quite hard to say no to someone who's waving money in your face and saying, "Here, help me take my money." Um, you know, and so I've helped companies that have been in home services, jewelry, restaurants, food service, law, right? So I've helped, companies in all different niches do all different things, ranging from websites to, like I said, Facebook ads, SEO. So we're not really niche down, but as I, continue to evolve in this business and in this space, I'm always thinking about ways that I can either refine my current business or service offering, or really, roll out like a different specialized product that targets one specific niche. If I can go back in time, Gil, and kind of, from day one, kind of say, okay, here's kind of what we're going to do. I would probably choose a niche. I think that when you do that, you instantly position yourself as the expert in one space, and only focusing on prospecting for that niche and whatnot is helpful as you try to scale.
Got it. Awesome. Good stuff. And you did kind of mention what you would do if you had to go back. I do have a question coming up later, so we might touch on that again.
Sure, that's okay.
Awesome. Good stuff. What's the biggest struggle you've been experiencing within your agency?
I think any legit business will always have, I don't want to even call them problems, just ways that, hurdles, right? Things to overcome, things to strategize around. And that's part of growing and scaling and, changing markets. I think, as an agency, you deal with a lot of, signing clients up, and then naturally you're going to lose clients along the way. And it's not that you did anything wrong or, that you just didn't deliver. But it can really be the fact that, somebody's business is changing and, they're moving things in house, or they just need to cut back on budgets and stuff. So I would say, the biggest challenge for me as an agency has been, trying to constantly have a predictable pipeline of qualified leads that A, are in need of our service, B, can afford our service, and C, are people that are going to commit to, at least a 6-month minimum engagement. Because you can get somebody on the phone today who's interested in your SEO service, but will cancel in 4 weeks. And that's not a way to build a legit business. And unfortunately, when it comes to prospects and clients in our business, there are people who are clients like that. So I've gotten to a point where I'm a little more selective in who I want to work with. And it's not to say, I have a roster of thousands of clients, and I kind of, but I've gotten to a point where I'd like to work with more qualified people who, like you said, are, in it because they want to find a a reliable partner who can provide a service for, 12 plus months, and, almost hire us to become an extension of their team. So I take pride in the fact that a lot of the clients I've, signed up and signed and onboarded stick with me for a long time, merely because we deliver a good service, but we're always available to answer any questions. And we almost, like I said, it's almost like they can rely on us to be someone who's like an extension of their team.
Awesome. And to expand on that a little bit, I also see the value in setting expectations for your clients, and as far as, being able to maintain them long term, and making sure they're comfortable, if, like you, for example, you have your 6-month contractual obligation, making sure that they understand the expectations. Like when you say for SEO, yeah, you're not going to get, significant results in 4 weeks. It could take a longer time than that. It will take a longer time than that. I mean, when it comes to SEO, we like to set expectations within DashClicks, between 3 and 6 months. It could possibly take
Sure.
longer. So that's also definitely something that I've seen that can definitely help as well in the long
Sure.
run. What would you say makes you stand out amongst other marketing agencies?
I would probably say, my background and just how I've been raised, and my business philosophy is to just be transparent and honest, right? Unfortunately, this is a space that has a very low barrier of entry. So, there are people who enter and exit this business in this space every single day. And that's a good and a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing because, if you speak to the right person, you can sign a client up. But if you don't know if DashClicks or a provider, who can help you deliver on the service, you can create a bad reputation for the rest of the industry. So it's always a challenge, trying to, maintain, kind of a high standard and quality in this business because of the level of competition. But, I've been able to stand out just due to my ability to be transparent and honest with my clients, right? If we had a bad month with Facebook ads and the cost per lead was higher, the impressions went down, we didn't generate as many leads as, we did previously, right? Most agencies, or, people for that matter, and naturally hide behind that and just say, hey, or don't even confront it. But, I like to discuss the wins and discuss the failures as well, because I think that is what leads to a more successful relationship when I can speak to somebody and say, hey, we didn't have our best month, the month that we kind of anticipated having, compared to last month. I think the reason for that is X, Y, and Z, and here's what we're going to do differently this month. Then we'll evaluate it next month, see where we're at. And I think that goes a long way in this field, in this space, because there are people who just hide behind a computer and don't, share that kind of transparency and honesty, like myself. So I think that, for me and the clients we work with, and kind of, what I want for my company and companies is to be transparent and, always just be honest.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point, actually. I mean, as long as you're, first of all, you're able to communicate whatever's going on, with that specific client, with their campaign, whatever it may be, the good and the bad. So as long as you're able to communicate that and let them know, hey, this month, okay, you're doing excellent, everything is good. Okay, and this month you're not doing as well, but look, I'm going to be honest with you. This is what's going on, and this is what we're going to do to improve that.
Sure.
People, they're going to appreciate that. They're going to appreciate the transparency and the honesty, and they're going to want to stick with you because you care. You're being honest with them, and you're not just shoving just good stuff at them, even though it's not good stuff. So
Yeah.
Definitely good stuff there for sure.
I mean, look, I think it's, part of an agency's job is to, where there's an art and a science to this business at the end of the day, right? I mean, you have to be able to, convey things in a positive way. And you also have to rely on numbers and data, because at the end of the day, the saying numbers don't lie is the truth. But I think, when there's a bad month with something, whether it's, your rankings have gone down or you didn't generate as many leads as the month before, anybody would naturally get upset about that if they're paying for it, and rightfully so, right? If I'm paying $1,000 a month, I want to generate results and whatnot. But I think it's our job to say, hey, maybe we didn't do as well this month for these reasons, but we know kind of what we need to do better moving forward, and we should expect to see better results this coming month. So I think it just goes a long way being an honest and kind of good person in a positive manner.
100% agreed. Do you focus on inbound or outbound prospecting methods, or both, or more so? What would you say you do?
I missed the first part of your question, but I heard, do I do more outbound or inbound?
What's your focus when it comes to generating leads?
Yeah, I think it's a healthy mix of both, right? I think any legit business needs, a source of generating inbound leads, whether that be through SEO, paid ads, email marketing, whatever it may be. If you have all of them, that's great. That's just more leads. For my agency, it's been a mix of both, right? A little bit of inbound, a little bit of outbound. So the inbound stuff has been through like our organic channels, kind of like my personal social media and, our SEO presence. I'm a big believer in kind of, being able to do what you sell. And if we weren't generating leads or any traffic and business from our SEO, then I wouldn't feel comfortable being able to, sell it to somebody else. Right. So I think that, for our inbound, right, we do a lot through our own organic presence. In terms of outbound, I've done some cold outreach. I've, hired some virtual assistants to do some, direct messaging on social media and stuff like that. So I think I would say it's a healthy mix. I don't favor one over the other. I think they both have kind of a different sales cycle. Somebody who's coming to you with a specific need and a specific desire, a specific budget, is always going to be a warmer prospect than someone you initiated contact with first. So that's what I would say kind of the key differences are. And for me, it's just always been a healthy mix of both.
Okay. To kind of piggyback off of that, what's the number one prospecting strategy that gets qualified leads booked on a calendar daily?
I would say, probably the number one, not even just saying for me specifically, but in general, I think Facebook ads are probably going to be, the most realistic and most efficient way of constantly generating appointments and sales. For those, if you're watching this, you probably know the difference between Google and Facebook ads, but, nobody's going on to Facebook to truly look for an agency provider. But the beautiful thing about Facebook and, the fact that it's feed based is that you can put yourself in front of people who you're trying to target multiple times before you get them to either convert or for Facebook to say, okay, this is somebody who's not interested, right? This is not who we're trying to target. And with more history under their campaign, right? Obviously you can make more informed and better decisions to accurately target who you want. So that's why, kind of going full circle here, I think as an agency owner, starting today, if you pick a niche, let's say, plumbers, and you're offering people, SEO and your offer is like getting them on page 1 in 3 months or, some kind of guarantee at that point, using Facebook ads to really, put some leads into your sales funnel there and, be able to move them along, through follow-up calls, follow-up emails, texts, is a great way to kind of bring inbound prospects and sales appointments into your agency.
Awesome. Good stuff. So let's say you do all that, you create your leads through Facebook and whatever other strategies you use. Now they're in your pipeline, the prospects. What's the best sales tactic you use to close new deals?
Yeah, again, I'm not your traditional quote unquote salesman, right? I'm not very pushy when it comes to sales. I probably should be a little pushier because sometimes I'm a little, too lax, but I always put myself in position of the prospect. I don't, as a prospect, like to be sold. I'm all about relationship building. So for me, it's truthfully been about just being a genuine person, kind of, answering questions and listening more than I talk. I mean, but to get someone to talk, you have to ask questions. So for me, when I have somebody who I'm speaking to and engaging with, normally it's, if I can get them on a one call close, and it's great, fantastic. Nobody's going to complain about that. But it's normally split into two calls, right? So the first call is more of like a qualifying call, like, hey, what kind of business are you in? What's your, business doing? What are you looking for help with? And what kind of budget do you have to spend? Somebody tells you they have, $200 a month to spend and they're doing, $50,000 a year in business. The reality is they don't have the budget to support your engagement. So they're not a good fit. But I never kill prospects like that, right? I put them into my, kind of database and CRM and try to keep in touch with them, check in from time to time. But I would say that, overall, my best strategy to closing leads and closing prospects is, just being honest, asking questions, bringing up kind of pain points and, discussing ways you've helped other people, combat those, right? And more often than not, you'll find that when people are discussing any form of marketing with you, the same theme comes up, right? I need more leads, or I need more appointments, I need more people to speak to. So if you can find a repeatable and scalable way to deliver leads for a specific niche, you're in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I think something super important to do is, communicate. So you have those leads in your pipeline, you give them a call, you communicate with them, and you try to offer the best solution that you can as an agency for their needs, with their respective budget, whatever it may be. And I think doing that, in a way that, you're talking from a person to person, not necessarily from a salesy standpoint. Like you say, you don't have to be super salesy. But if you have the solution for that specific person, and you can, it's going to be mutually beneficial for both of you, from you as an agency standpoint, from them, from getting more business for themselves. It's, if you set that correctly, I mean, you could definitely move from there 100%.
Yeah. And, it kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. I've got a little more selective about, who I want to work with. When I first started it, anybody, like I said, who was waving a checkbook or a credit card, I'd figure out how to service your problem. Right. Fast forward a few years now, I've kind of, learned more about who I want to work with, who I don't want to work with, what kinds of budgets I will and will not work with. And it allows you to be in a position of more, leverage, right? When you're not desperate, or when you're not begging for someone's business, they tend to have more of an interest in your service or company, because it, shows them that you're a more legit business that is helping other people and helping other clients do the same thing. So, I'd say for anybody starting off new, right, it's so easy to take the small budgets, and I get it, it's money, but you got to be careful about who you work with, because it can end up delaying your growth or really stunting your growth too.
For sure. For sure. How do you set proper expectations to make sure your clients stay on board longer than 30 days or longer?
That's a great question. I've gotten to a point where I kind of enforce agreements. I don't like to call them contracts, because look, at the end of the day, somebody truly needs out of a, agreement or situation, I'm not going to hold them hostage. Right. But I've learned that if you don't really discuss those, or, at least kind of enforce them to a, certain extent, people have no skin in the game, sure, they're paying a small retainer every month, and but if they can just leave after 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it is, I would say it's a lot of question asking and really guiding them to, answer the questions you need answered, right? How many employees do you have? How many jobs are you doing per week, per month, per year? What's your current revenue like? Again, if a company is doing, less than $1 million a year, the reality is them spending $2,000 a month on marketing is not going to be very easy for them to do, especially with other staff and stuff like that. So I think it's a lot of learning who your prospect is, and learning what your price point is and what you can sell your services for. Really gaining some proof of concept, getting a few people to pay what you're asking for, and, build kind of a process and a way to deliver your service. But really make sure that you're asking the right questions and that you're bringing on the right people. It's a people first business. The way we do things is fun and great, but at the end of the day, you're working with people. So you need to make sure that people first you understand who you're working with and they understand what's in it for them. And I think like for me, right, I said that I'm not a big contract or agreement guy, but I just set the expectations from day one that this is something that, we ask our clients to commit at least 3 to 6 months on. Um, if things aren't up to their liking after 3 months, or they just feel like they're better off going in a different direction, obviously, we don't like to see that, but I understand business is business and sometimes people have to go in different directions. But I think 3 months is a fair engagement period to be able to accurately assess kind of what's going on and what direction you're headed in.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, when it comes to DashClicks and what we do, I mean, all of our services are month to month, but we expect, our partners and the agencies that we're working with to have some sort of agreements or, contract with their clients. And like you said, you don't have to hold anyone hostage. Even on our retail side, I mean, we still sign up clients and we try to have a minimum of that 6 month. Again, it's not to hold them hostage, but to hold them and to let it's kind of like expectation setting. I mean, if you're an SEO, I mean, why would you leave after a month? If you have the right expectations, it's going to take longer. And we
Yeah.
and also use that as somewhat like of I wouldn't say negotiation per se, but if someone has a problem with that 6 month, we say, okay, we'll drop it down to 3 months. So that's something that agency owners can do. And again, it's not that we hold anyone hostage to it. I mean, if someone needs to leave, we're not going to say, hey, you can't leave or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, those things definitely help. Having that agreement in place and setting expectations definitely help.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm in a bunch of different groups online and network with other agency owners, and if people can get clients to agree to a 12-month agreement, hey, by all means, kudos to you. That's excellent. You've got somebody's commitment, and you have enough time now to really prove yourself and prove your worth. If after 12 months you haven't really been able to deliver, you have more of a delivery and fulfillment problem. But yeah, so I think 3 months, 3 to 6 months is a fair assessment, fair range.
Awesome. If you have one, what's your formula for maximizing client retention and increasing lifetime value?
What was the first part of the question again? I got the lifetime value.
Yeah. Formula for maximizing client retention and increasing lifetime value. So retention and lifetime value.
Yeah, I would say again, it comes down to people-driven business, right? I think there needs to be an open line of communication. You'll have the clients, like I have some who just don't even bother or care to check in on what you're doing. And on paper, that sounds great, but you want to make sure that they know that you're doing your job and you're doing what you say and what you're charging for. So I would say it's just about, for retention, it's about being transparent, right? Like we kind of alluded to earlier in this call. Being honest when things are down and when things are up, celebrate the wins, but, talk about the losses as well and why things aren't going as you probably both want, and strategizing together how you can plan to be better this month and so on and so forth. In terms of lifetime value, I think, if you have, like for me, right, an SEO agency, if we're 6 months into an engagement, we built a great relationship, I could start to discuss, more a la carte content writing services, right? We can, upsell them on more content. We can discuss targeting different keywords, but it would require a bigger SEO budget. We can do like specialized link building. So there's very many ways to do it, right? In Facebook ads, you could start to offer, more creative services. So I think there's a lot of ways to offer sub services within your main services that will allow you to upsell clients and keep them longer, so retain them, but also increase their lifetime value as well.
Awesome. What's the most successful automation you've set up in your business that saves you the most time or makes you the most money?
Oh man, I'm a big automation guy when it comes to like Zapier and stuff like that. I love I can't specifically say this one in particular, but I'm a big fan of just setting up like automations and workflows throughout Zapier that have to do with like Slack and Square and, so credit card processing, sending out agreements, firing off triggers to create Google Drives based on like client names. So I think it's not very specifically, but more from like a holistic view, just things that have to do with like the sales process, right? There's so many like, and I'm sure you guys know this as well, like little tedious things. And so I just think being able to leverage like automations and paid tools like that that help you and support your growth is super important.
Awesome. So you mentioned Zapier is a great software for people to use in general, just to create those automations, save people time. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. All
Sure.
right. So I got a few more questions for you. We're going to get into some of the money stuff for your agency. So without further ado, what is your monthly recurring revenue?
Yeah, right now doing about 10 to 12K a month recurring. I've had some better months and I've had some worse months too. With our SEO kind of engagement, oftentimes you have to fix up and clean people's websites up as well. So, maybe you charge $2,000 for a website and that kind of goes into like, somebody's month or something like that. And that's allowed us to do more money in 1 month. So, kind of floating around that number right now. It's healthy. I mean, there's definitely room for, major growth. But like I said, I've gotten a little more selective about who I work with and who I onboard and who I help, just because I'd rather work with quality people at this time who refer me to other quality clients as well, as opposed to just lower ticket clients.
Awesome. How many clients do you have, and what's the average monthly retainer that they pay?
Yeah, right now I'm working with about a total of like 5 clients currently. Anywhere from like $1,500 to $2,500 a month is the average retainer. I find that to be healthy and serviceable, right? I mean, SEO is tough. It's tough, service, and there's a lot that goes into it as well. And you got to make sure that you're able to deliver what you need to deliver to help them. And it requires a budget. If you don't have the budget for it, it's tough to do, which is why people outsource it. And when people call up our agency to help them, they're willing to spend the money on quality work.
Awesome. What's a realistic revenue goal you see yourself in 12 months from today?
Yeah, I think, being able to get to like 25, 30K a month in recurring revenue would be something realistic. When you think about the price point that you're selling at, 2,000, $2,500 a month, it's not impossible. But it certainly will take, implementing and upping your marketing spend and, being able to convert more leads. If I had work with, just about anybody right now, I'm sure I could hit it. But there'd be a lot more, kind of learning curves and stunts to our growth that come up with those lower ticket clients. So I think just focusing on, a little bit bigger fish and more quality prospects is kind of the route I want to go.
Awesome. And a lot of the agencies I actually speak to, a lot of their goals is to essentially like double their current revenue by the next year. And I think that's a great goal. That's a great goal to set for yourself to hit that or possibly more. So yeah, good stuff with that.
Yeah.
What do you need to change in the next 12 months for you to be able to hit that revenue goal? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, just really develop a more clear sales process and, maybe hone in a little bit more specifically on a specific niche. I talked a lot about it and I recommend it, but just because, kind of the way my company has been started and scaled is just working with different people. But I think maybe targeting a more specific niche that we've worked with and had some good results in will be probably the best way for us to get to that number that I mentioned and beyond. Because like I said, and for anybody starting out too, when you can speak to a specific audience with a specific pain point and a specific solution, it allows you to really scale a lot, quicker.
Awesome. My final question here, and this is something you kind of mentioned a couple of times, but if you had to start from zero, how long do you think it would take you to get back to where you are now? And what's one thing you would do differently? Now, I know you mentioned the niche is one thing that you would maybe do different if you had to go back, but if there's anything else you can think of, and with the knowledge that you have now, how long do you think it would take you if you had to start from zero?
Yeah, it's a great question, but it's also a little bit of a tough question to answer. But I'll answer it as best I can. I think going back in time, if I were starting over, 2 things I would change. Right, like I said earlier, I would definitely choose a niche such as plumbers, let's say, for example. But taking that a step further, I would be a little specific with one service for that one niche. So, a good offer is, I can help plumbers get more leads in 30 days or your money back or something like that. So I think really coming up with, one service to help, build one offer around and for one niche is definitely the way to do it. Probably going back in time, it would take me maybe 6 months to get to where I am, using the knowledge I have now and what I have now, and really just going all in on it.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right, Dillon, that's all I had for today. I
Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that. And thank you everyone for watching. It's Agency Owners Playbook. We'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.